Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Nicholas Marini. I am the owner of Marini Furniture. This is our first episode, so welcome. Good to have you. This episode will be a shotgun intro to what I do, and I will briefly touch on one of the pieces I sold recently. All right, in this episode, I will start off by giving you a shop tour. I'll discuss some sourcing, milling, drying, planing, design, CNC, assembly, finishing, shipping, 3D modeling, NFTs. We'll donate some toys to the local orphanage. I'll give you a quick tour of El Paso, and we'll conclude with a fire pit, a cold beer, and some roasted sausages. All right, a quick backstory about myself. I started off woodworking when I was about 19 years old. That was about 20 years ago now, in 2005. Unfortunately, over that period of time, I've not always been able to consistently woodwork. And now I am finally at a point in my life where I can balance time, money, and space and consistently woodwork. Now, I started off in public service when I was about 14 years old as a lifeguard at the local pool, then became an EMT basic, a paramedic, a firefighter, then ultimately an officer in the United States Marine Corps. I've had quite an adventurous life, if you couldn't tell. However, because of either time, money, or space within those parameters, it has been a struggle to maintain that continuity in the shop. However, like I said, I'm finally at a point in my life where I'm at a happy medium and will continue to share the experience and journey with you all throughout my show. Welcome to my extravagant shop. You guessed it, it is a one-car garage. I have all the basic necessities, but nothing extraordinarily out there. My CNC machine, as you see there, is by far my largest purchase I've made, but worth every penny, and I will discuss that more later. I do have a planer, a joiner. I have a couple different size belt sanders. I have a shop vac. I have a bandsaw and a drill press, Morrison tenon joiner, a miter saw, as well as a few books. I'm trying to build up a library in my knowledge. I have a table saw, a couple stools I've fashioned just for whatever uses I may need those for. That drum sander I've actually sold since this was recorded. And I also have a few smaller hand tools to assist with getting the job done. Sourcing. I source my wood locally from online marketplaces. I do not like to purchase my wood from stores or purchase slabs online. Nothing against those businesses whatsoever. I simply just enjoy the thrill of the hunt. A lot of people advertise their wood as logs for a decent amount, of which I can usually negotiate down to a more reasonable price. And if I'm lucky, sometimes I'll just give it away for free. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of the whole process because you get to let out the hunter a bit and you get to experience, as I said, the thrill of the hunt. You meet a lot of great people, farmers, arborists. It's just an absolute blast. You make some new contacts. It's a great time. Yes, here's me picking up wood on the side of the road because I have to. I have to have it, but preferably with better lifting techniques next time. You will hear me use the word exciting many times. So sorry, I'm not sorry, but milling truly is so exciting because you're finally getting to a place where you can save a lot of money once you're able to upgrade your machinery. Now that right there was chainsaw milling. Now I'm using the bandsaw here. And this really enables you to save a ton of money because sometimes you will have to purchase live slabs, for instance, if you're really into live slabs, for hundreds or thousands of dollars. Now you're gonna have to go through the drying process, of course, but this really is part of the whole experience. And that was one of the things I wanted to do when it came to furniture, was I wanted to build it start to finish. As grueling or as challenging as that may have been, that was my goal. And that's the place that I'm finally at. Now, when it comes to drying, this is a painful part of the process. This requires three things: time, time, and more time. This is simply one of those parts of the process where you must have disciplined patience, because if you don't, you will disrupt the whole process with wood splitting and cracking. And although you may have been able to sell something, the customer will come back extremely unhappy, which in turn is a poor long-term investment. So ultimately, like I said, you just have to be disciplined with those three things: time, time, and time. It's just the nature of the universe. It's part of the process, and disrupting that process is just going to make everything so much harder for you. You're going to have warping of the wood. You're going to have splitting and cracking, and pieces of furniture are going to be wobbling all over the place. It's just not good. You just have to have the patience and accept it. Now, design I find to be one of the most spiritual parts of the whole process. You've been observing this wood, you've been letting it dry for months or years, and you finally pull it out. You check to see it's at the moisture content you've been looking for, and this is it. This is the moment you finally get to start sketching things out, planning things out, and you get to touch it, you get to feel it, and start to put something together in your head. Design is finally the part where you can let your creative juices flow, so to speak. You can let loose, envision something great, and put it on paper. You start to sketch it out. This is the moment you really get to set yourself apart and create something truly incredible that nobody else has ever seen before. And that's how you start to build your brand and your reputation. Okay, on to planing. Planing can be extremely challenging, whether it is live slabs or lumber, for many reasons. Now, when I first started woodworking, I could not figure out for the life of me why I could not get my planer to make boards flat. I was frustrated, I was angry, and it took me a long time to figure out that there is more to wood, especially dimensioning wood, than you would naturally think. This is truly when the relationship with wood began for me. I started to realize how delicate wood is and how much work it was going to take to become an average woodworker. Wood almost has a personality of its own. Assuming the wood is dry, you have to find a way to get one of the 6 sides flat. Once you have one side flat, all your dimensioning from there will go as planned, and this took me quite a long time to understand. And whether you're using a router sled or an actual planer, you have to fully comprehend this. CNC, or computer numerical control. Once I felt that my woodworking skills had expanded to the level that I set out to meet, I started exploring CNC. I went with a hobbies level machine and absolutely got hooked on this thing. I realized I was not only able to customize my products, but I was able to manufacture products with this knowledge and interest. I originally shelled out about $1,000 for the machine and got a relatively cheap software. I believe it was only a couple $100, but ultimately upgraded to a $2,000 software to have the capabilities to do what I needed to do. After about 3 days of assembly, half a day of software installation, and half a day of troubleshooting, I was able to finally execute. And like I said, got absolutely hooked. It was worth every penny and had absolutely amazing capabilities after I developed these skills. Assembly is one of the most nerve-wracking and gratifying parts of woodworking, because sometimes parts don't fit right. You realize you measured something wrong, or what you envisioned simply doesn't look good in reality. Now, it can be gratifying because sometimes your Mona Lisa just hits the bullseye. I tend to experience this high with joinery. When the joinery comes together right, you feel like you're the real deal. It's a great moment. Now, I like to use what I call the 3-lock method. I use joinery, glue, and dowels. I'm not against screws at all, but if I am able to push the limits of something and make something truly great, I prefer to stay within the lateral limits of traditional woodworking. The 3-lock method is that for me. It makes my furniture sturdy, secure, and durable. As I said with assembly, I really enjoy pushing the limits of traditional woodworking, and one of the ways that I do this is with waxes and natural oils when it comes to finishing. It is truly an art form, and as challenging as it is to work within those limits, it is truly rewarding. It took me years to research and endure trial and error to recover a lot of lost tradition. The best part about this is it allows me to keep my furniture perfectly natural, yet durable, and ultimately honor the wood. Now here's some snapshots of the first piece I sold when I was involved in the process from start to finish. So from sourcing to finishing, selling to shipping, 3D scanning to NFT minting, I was completely involved in the process. I called it the Old West Bucking Cowboy Riser. This thing sold in 5 hours. I could not believe it. And it was truly the moment when I realized, wow, I can do this. I see shipping as kind of a puzzle more than anything. You have to know the limitations of your shipping service, including weight and dimensions. You have to find a box that is relatively inexpensive. Sometimes you have to frame the box so that the box doesn't collapse. There's just a lot to it. But once you gain some experience with shipping, you will start to find ways to save money. It is possible, and I will cover those details more in future episodes. "3D modeling and NFTs. This is some pretty cutting edge technology that the average person finally has at their fingertips. And as crypto and NFTs start to expand, I figured, why not? Let's try it. So I start by scanning my piece with a 3D scanning app on my phone. Then I transfer that file to my computer. I then open the file in a program called Blender, and this is the most time-consuming part of the process. The technology is there, but it still needs some work. So in Blender, you can rearrange and connect nodes so that there aren't any gaps in the scan, which I found to be the most common problem when it comes to 3D scanning. So once I've essentially sutured the nodes where the gaps were in the scan, I save the file, and then I go to OpenSea where I mint the NFT, which ultimately concludes the entire process of my work from start to finish. One of the things my family and I consciously try to do is stay grounded and be grateful for what we have on the good days and the bad days. One of the ways we started to express that gratitude is by donating supplies and toys to the local orphanage. I figure if anybody needs help more than anybody, it's children in need. And what kid doesn't like presents? El Paso, Texas. It is a place of mystery for many, as a lot of people don't make it this far south, except if they are traveling cross country or as a truck driver on I-10. It is as unique as it is incredible. It gets as hot as it does cold. We have consecutive days over 100 degrees in the summer and snow in the winter. At nearly 3/4 mile high elevation, we really do get to see it all. When I first moved here, I had to perform a relatively basic physical fitness test, and I found myself winded a little more than usual. Come to find out, we were at 3/4 mile high elevation, but it was nothing more than good training. Now, El Paso is cowboy boot capital of the world, believe it or not, and a lot of people actually travel down here just for the boots. It is one of the safest metropolitan cities in the country, with great food, great people, and some really unique entertainment. So as I said, I'll share some videos of El Paso throughout the show in the future, simply to share how this place really influences my work. Now, as promised, let's take a seat next to the fire, crack open a cold one, roast some sausages, and until next month, everybody, we'll see you.